'Cause I Am Rock and Roll. And on to the circuit for race number 29 come the Minimax contenders. Finley Bunce on pole position, and Tom Canning on the outside of row number 1. David Jensen Butterfield and Dexter Patterson on row 2. Ben Fayers and Lorcan Hannafin row 3. Brandon Martland and Kai Hunter on row 4 of a 25 kart grid, with once again Johnny Edgar starting last. We went through the top 4 rows of the grid. Joe Ellison and his Mark Baines Motorsport teammate Jack Martin are on row 5. Then Piers Henderson and Sam Harrison, Owen Johnson and Lewis Gilbert, Oakley Pryor and Clayton Ravenscroft, Matthew Hudson and Kieran Jeremy, Dominic Bush and Ben Burgess, Suleiman Zanfari and Josh Torpy, Carl O'Brien, Con Davitt, and then Johnny Edgar, who got up into the top 8, I think, in the first heat earlier on. Lights are out, we're off and racing. Lorcan Hannafin dives to the inside to prevent himself getting trapped on the outside row going through the first couple of corners. That was a solid move, and it has helped Hannafin stay. Well, where is Hannafin? They're coming down the hill. Well, Hannafin has taken the lead in the number 23 kart from the outside of row 3 to first place, with Butterfield now second, Patterson in third, then it's Fayers, Canning, Bunce, the poleman, holding off Kai Hunter. All 25 drivers very closely packed together. Try and suss out what's going on. Oh, and somebody runs wide. Hannafin misses his turn-in point for the Mike Wilson complex and falls back to third. Hands the lead on a plate back to his teammate Jensen Butterfield. There are yellow flags waving at the Bobby Game corner. Issues for the 14, the 15 and the 28. That would be Con Davitt, Carl O'Brien and Suleiman Zanfari. They continue in a form, but with bits of dented panels flailing about the place. Virtually everybody else in a big line, led by the 2 Tony karts of Butterfield and Patterson. Looking a little bit further back, Johnny Edgar, 20th. He has not made the kind of progress I imagine he was hoping for, especially as the field is so tightly packed. This is the part of the race where any front-running driver who is forced to start at the back for whatever reason is trying to make as many places as possible before things get spread out. But Butterfield and Patterson are not fighting amongst themselves. They're being quite sensible about things. Behind them is a different story altogether as they go side by side with Ravenscroft in the 75, Bunce in the 58, Canning and Hannafin, and the number 62 Vital Motorsport kart of Dan Holland racing kart of Brandon Martland, all pushing and shoving each other through the 2 hairpins. Hannafin's already had a warning for some sort of misdemeanor, and all this still too wide going into the Mike Wilson complex. They've got to get single file for the double left-hander in the middle of that complex. So many times we've seen 2 wide moves. The driver on the outside gets spat into those barriers which are waiting just on the outside of the circuit. And Butterfield and Patterson begin lap number 4, 1.6 seconds up the road. Over the bridge, Canning gets a warning flag. There was probably deemed at source of the bumping and barging in the hairpins last time around. Well, he's not going to be the source of any issues in that group this time around because he's the head of it in third place with Ravenscroft next. And then it is Hannafin getting muscled wide, or is he, by the 62 of Martland. And actually, Martland doesn't even make the place. Joe Ellison, Ben Fayers, Finley Bunce, Piers Henderson and Kai Hunter are next. I have to say, Finley Bunce from pole position both times has not really capitalised on it. He's fought back well, but there's obviously been a setup issue or a concentration issue in those frantic opening lap and a half. Once things settle down, Finley starts motoring. He's now in 5th position, but he's 3.5 seconds off the lead. And he's got, there's someone running wide off the bridge. That was the number 85 of Joe Ellison. He loses a place to Ben Fayers. Behind him, there's 2 wide. No, make that 3 wide. As Piers Henderson for Vital Motorsports picks up a place. Here comes Johnny Edgar now, scything his way past Oakley Pryor and Owen Johnson. And Edgar, well, after a steady opening couple of laps, which I didn't think he made it as many places as he could have, Johnny Edgar has now exploded into life. We're coming across the line to complete lap number 5, and we've got Butterfield and Patterson through cleanly. Where is the number 47 Coles Racing Kart? The answer is 11th. And there is the problem, because he's got Piers Henderson in the 37 directly in front of him. And as they go onto the bridge, he is still in front of Johnny Edgar. But then there is a big gap. 1.5 seconds to the next kart up the road, which is Joe Ellison. And only 4 minutes left. Butterfield and Patterson continue as they were. Canning and Ravenscroft are not battling with one another, not close enough in 3rd and 4th. Bunce holding off Martland for 5th and 6th, then Hannafin, Fayers and Ellison together. Then the big gap to Piers Henderson in 10th place with Johnny Edgar bearing down on him. We start lap number 7. Tom Canning sets a new fastest lap of the race, 61.54. Joe Ellison passes Ben Fayers for 8th place at turn number 1. And still Piers Henderson hangs on to 10th place, although for how much longer I do not know, because Johnny Edgar draws up behind him with a new fastest lap of the race, 61.53 seconds. And as Edgar has passed Henderson by the time they get halfway down the straight going into the first hairpin, and also going past the number 37 was Kieran Jeremy in the number 17 Thule Motorsport kart. Further back, the number 16 Coles kart. That's not the number 16. It is. It's Dominic Bush going through in 16th position, chasing the Team Clay Pigeon, number 66 of Oakley Pryor. 2 minutes 40 to go, and Canning, another new fastest lap. Well, Jensen Butterfield at the front of the pack did a 61.67. Dexter Patterson did a 61.8. And Tom Canning, 61.31 seconds. And 3/4 of a second suddenly cover the top 3. With Ravenscroft well back in 4th, Bunce 5th, then Martland and Hannafin, Ellison and Fayers. The gap between Ben Fayers in 9th and Johnny Edgar in 10th is 1.56 seconds, just over a second and a half. 2 minutes to go. And the thing is, Fayers isn't trying to attack anybody, so he's got no reason to slow his pace and defend. On to another lap. And Patterson, I think, driving with a renewed sense of urgency, because he can see Canning bearing down on him. He does not want to be Piggy in the middle, not knowing whether to attack or defend. And so he starts applying the pressure on Butterfield. 1 minute 20 to go. They're still not defending. Well, considering they were defending into the first hairpin on lap 1 of the previous heat race, this is showing remarkable restraint. We're into the final 60 seconds. Butterfield still hasn't dove for the white lines. And actually, despite not driving defensively, Patterson and Canning, or rather Canning and Patterson, second and third, aren't close enough to make a move. Now, will Canning get the run onto the banking from this point? Just sits in, Butterfield slipstream, closes in. He's right there. To the inside he goes. No. He swings wide, going onto the banking to try the undercut into turn number 3. 30 seconds to go. Next time by it'll be the last lap board. Still Butterfield does not yield. Now we go to the inside. Canning sticks to the middle of the track. Gets the overlap, but Butterfield on the outside has got more momentum. Ravenscroft having to defend 4th from Bunce. Canning now having to defend from Patterson. Here comes Dexter Patterson. Side by side into the Fullerton S's. Good move there from Dexter Patterson. And he's got a lap and a bit now. The clock has struck 0, but the last lap board has not gone out. It'll be last lap next time around. Has Patterson left himself enough time to close in on the race leader? Behind the top 3, we've got 2, 4, 5 karts battling over 4th. Ravenscroft defending from Hannafin with Martland, Bunce and Ellison for company. And then it's Johnny Edgar in 9th. Well, Edgar's going to catch this group on the banking because they were 3 wide and they're probably still 3 wide coming off the bridge. Ellison makes a move up at the front. Patterson defends second from Canning. So Butterfield has done enough. Side by side into hairpin number 2. Patterson holds on. Canning trying to go around the outside. Oh, if he makes this work, it's going to be a brave move. But no, Patterson doesn't let him. We look back. Ravenscroft in the 75. Cole's kart still hanging on to 4th. They're all going off to the Bobby Game corner. Will they all return? Well, Jensen Butterfield, no such concerns. Comes on to the last straight. Checkered flag in the air. Butterfield wins. Patterson holds off Canning for second. And Clayton Ravenscroft does take 4th. There is a yellow flag waving at the bottom end of the circuit. We'll see who hasn't come round in a moment. But Ravenscroft 4th, Hannafin 5th, Bunce 6th, Martland in 7th, Ellison 8th, Edgar 9th and Jeremy 10th. Then Fayers, Kai Hunter, Piers Henderson, Dominic Bush in the top 15, rounded out by Owen Johnson. And a quick glance down, it may well have been Con Davitt who didn't quite make it. No, he did this last lap in a normal time. Sullivan Zanfari lost a lot of ground in the number 28 Forza Motorsport, Forza Racing kart. He was the person responsible for the yellow flag. No major harm done. He was down at the back, and he's still down at the back in that race at least.